Born as a bear, yet too lazy to hunt, living only to eat and sleep. It is often called nature's cutest mistake. Despite possessing the stomach and teeth specifically designed to tear through meat, it is condemned to a life of chewing bamboo. Today, we uncover the bizarre evolutionary secrets of this vegetarian carnivore. Its iconic round face and famously sluggish lifestyle are not just for show. They are incredible scientific adaptations hidden by nature to conserve precious energy. With newborns that are a mere 1/900th the size of their mothers, and a mating window that lasts just 3 days a year, the very fact that this species still exists is a biological miracle. We will explore the massive human efforts required to save them from extinction, and how China wields them as a powerful geopolitical tool known as Panda Diplomacy to charm the nations of the world. Into the wondrous, paradoxical world of the giant panda, welcome to the Monolith English. The history of pandas is far older than we imagine. Around 19 million years ago, the ancestors of the panda branched off from the bear family, Ursidae, while the lineages that would become today's polar bears and brown bears continued on their path. Pandas carved out their own unique destiny. The most crucial link in panda history is a creature named Aleurarctos, which lived in China's Yunnan province 8 million years ago. We can call it the great-great-grandfather of today's panda. But that is not the most fascinating part. About 2 million years ago, a creature called the pygmy giant panda, Ailuropida microta, existed. Except for being slightly smaller, it looked almost identical to the pandas we know today. Think about it. Over the last 2 million years, the Earth has undergone massive changes. Humans evolved, ice ages came and went, yet the panda remained largely unchanged. They are a living fossil, a creature evolution seemingly abandoned halfway, or perhaps one that defied evolution altogether. They exist today almost exactly as they did millions of years ago. Today, we find pandas high up in the cold bamboo forests and mountains of China. But their ancestors were not mountain dwellers. Long ago, they roamed the lowlands of Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam and Myanmar. As competition with massive animals like elephants and rhinos intensified, they likely realized, we can't survive here anymore, and slowly retreated up the mountains. It was an escape in search of a peaceful life. Now let's look at their name. The panda's scientific name is Ailuropida melanoleuca. It is a combination of Latin and Greek. Ailuropida means catfoot, and melanoleuca means black and white. Essentially, the black and white catfoot. Although they belong to the bear family, their pupils are slit-like, resembling a cat's, hence the name. There is also a slight controversy regarding the name panda. The name originally belonged to the red panda, discovered in 1825. When the giant panda was discovered later in 1869, it was also called a panda due to a superficial similarity. Both eat bamboo. In reality, the giant panda has no close evolutionary relationship with the red panda. They simply borrowed the name. The most decisive moment in panda history was a genetic mutation that occurred about 4.2 million years ago. How did pandas, descending from carnivorous ancestors, become strict vegetarians? The answer lies in a mutation in a gene called TOS1R1. This gene is responsible for detecting umami, the savory taste of meat. It is the gene that allows us to enjoy the rich flavor of a chicken curry. But 4.2 million years ago, this gene became inactive, a pseudogene, in pandas. They completely lost the ability to taste meat. Imagine if the delicious chicken curry sitting in front of you suddenly tasted like tasteless cardboard mush. Would you eat it? No, that is exactly what happened to pandas. Meat was no longer exciting to them. Losing their interest in meat, they turned to the greenery right in front of their eyes to satisfy their hunger. Specifically, bamboo. Science calls the panda a vegetarian carnivore. Sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it? But it is the truth. Genetically and anatomically, the panda is a carnivore. Its teeth, its intestines, its digestive system, everything is designed to process meat. Yet what does it eat? A diet that is 99% bamboo. Imagine a tiger suddenly deciding to survive on grass. It is almost the same scenario. Why such a drastic change? First, the genetic mutation we just discussed. Second, when climate change made prey scarce, bamboo was the one resource available year-round in the forest in limitless quantities, with absolutely no competition. No need to run to catch prey, no need to fight anyone. Food was everywhere they turned. This convenience is what drove them to bamboo. Although pandas started eating bamboo, their bodies were completely unprepared for it. To digest cellulose, the tough fiber in plant cells, an animal needs specific enzymes. Herbivores like cows and goats possess this biological machinery. But the panda's DNA lacks the instructions to produce these cellulose-digesting enzymes. This is a massive crisis. It took them thousands of years just to partially adapt to this diet. Even today, if a panda stumbles upon a dead animal or bird in the wild, it might eat it. That ancient carnivorous instinct is still there. But because they are accustomed to bamboo, eating meat upsets their stomach, and they struggle to digest it. In short, they are trapped in a bizarre limbo. They don't want to eat meat, and they can't properly digest bamboo. The inefficiency of the panda's digestive system continually baffles scientists. Normal herbivores have multi-chambered stomachs and long intestines teeming with bacteria specifically to break down plant matter. But the panda is stuck with a carnivore's simple, single-chambered stomach and a very short intestinal tract. Food doesn't stay in the stomach long enough to be broken down. The result? The panda can only absorb a mere 17% of the nutrients from the bamboo it eats. The remaining 83% passes straight through, undigested. Even their gut microbiome resembles that of a bear, not an herbivore. A panda's digestion is like pouring water through a sieve. They eat constantly, but most of it is simply wasted. Because their digestion is so incredibly poor, a panda's biggest challenge, or perhaps its greatest relief, is excretion. The food they eat passes through their system completely undigested in just 5 to 12 hours. Therefore, pandas operate like poop machines. They can defecate up to 40 times a day. Think about it. From the moment they wake up until they go to sleep, they have to use the toilet every half hour. The amount of waste they produce daily ranges from 20 to 28 kilograms. And this isn't normal waste. Because it's undigested, it looks exactly like chewed up, spit out bamboo. It is green, and it even smells like fresh bamboo. Consequently, the areas where pandas live are heavily littered with these green bamboo bricks. Extracting only 17% of the energy from their food means pandas must eat constantly just to stay alive. There is no other way. Their entire existence runs on a loop. Eat, sleep, poop. They barely even have time to rest. And there is another problem. Bamboo is incredibly tough and fibrous. As these sharp, woody fibers travel down their esophagus and through their stomach, it often causes them severe abdominal pain. Sometimes you can see them abandon their food and curl up in agony. The panda is one of the rare animals whose primary food source actually causes it physical pain. When we say pandas eat bamboo, they don't just grab and eat whatever bamboo is in front of them. They are incredibly picky. They cycle through about 40 different species of bamboo. Among these, their absolute favorites are bamboo shoots. These shoots contain more protein and less fiber than the tough leaves. Therefore, during shoot season, they will eat nothing else. An adult panda consumes between 12 to 38 kilograms of bamboo a day. To manage this, they spend 10 to 16 hours actively eating. Basically, anytime they are not sleeping, their jaws must be moving. Imagine spending your entire day chewing on raw sugarcane. That is a panda's life. Bamboo naturally contains a toxin called cyanide, which is deadly to most animals. However, the bacteria in a panda's gut have the remarkable ability to neutralize this cyanide. So, no matter how much bamboo they eat, they do not get poisoned. Although 99% of their diet is bamboo, pandas have a massive sweet tooth. Fruits are rare in the wild, but in zoos, if given apples or honey, they devour them with sheer excitement. They may have lost the taste for meat, but their ability to taste sweetness remains intact. Furthermore, while bamboo provides a decent amount of moisture, it is never enough. Pandas have a daily habit of visiting streams to drink copious amounts of water. In short, these gentle giants live a life of eating toxic bamboo, drinking constantly, and dreaming of the rare taste of sweetness. In the past, rural Chinese villagers called pandas Tai Shi, which translates to iron-eating animal. Behind this terrifying-sounding name lies a very interesting, yet somewhat sad story. Bamboo has a peculiar characteristic. A species will flower en masse across an entire region, and immediately after flowering, it dies off completely. When this happens, a severe food shortage hits the forest. Driven by starvation and with no other option, pandas would descend into nearby villages. Their target? The cooking utensils used by humans, especially iron woks. Pandas would lick these iron woks clean and sometimes even bite and break them. They weren't actually eating the iron. They were desperately attracted to the taste of salt and other spices stuck to the pans. It was a frantic search for the minerals and salts they couldn't get from their bamboo diet. However, the villagers who saw this assumed the animal survived by eating iron. That is how they earned the historical nickname Iron Eater. Looking at a panda's face, anyone would want to hug it. A round, fluffy face like a stuffed toy, but this round face is actually a terrifying weapon forged by evolution. To bite through rock-hard bamboo stalks, a normal jaw is not enough. Immensely powerful jaw muscles are required. Pandas' cheeks are packed with these muscles. To anchor such massive muscles, a large bone crest called the sagittal crest protrudes from the top of their skull. It is this bone and the bulging muscles attached to it that give the panda's face its iconic round shape. In other words, the face we look at and say, "Ah, how cute," is actually a heavy-duty crusher machine designed to obliterate bamboo. Their bite force is approximately 260 psi. It might be hard to believe, but this gentle-looking creature has a stronger bite than the fearsome polar bear. If a human hand accidentally got caught in those jaws, it would be crushed just like a bamboo stalk. If you look inside a panda's mouth, you'll see another contradiction. At the back of the mouth, they have broad, flat molars much like a cow's, designed for grinding bamboo. But at the front, they still retain the sharp, long canines of a carnivore, like a tiger. They use these to tear the tough outer skin of bamboo and to defend against enemies. Now, let's look at their eyes. Normal bears have round pupils like humans, but a panda's eyes are like a cat's. In low light, their pupils become vertical slits. This helps them see in the dark. Pandas are not strictly diurnal, active only during the day. They often forage for bamboo at dusk and during the night. These eyes act as built-in night vision goggles. Because the energy derived from bamboo is so low, pandas cannot afford to maintain a large brain. So, the body employed a different strategy. It reduced the size of the brain and amplified the power of the senses instead. A panda's hearing is exceptional. They can move their ears independently towards the direction of a sound. But their true superpower is their sense of smell. They can not only smell bamboo from kilometers away, but they can also sniff out which bamboo is the tastiest and most nutritious. Furthermore, for these solitary forest dwellers, a keen nose is absolutely essential to find a mate and to detect if other pandas have crossed into their territory. They trust their nose far more than their eyes or their intellect. A panda's paw has 5 fingers, but if you look at them holding bamboo, it looks like they have 6. This is the panda's greatest anatomical marvel, the pseudo-thumb. It is not actually a finger. Over time, a small wrist bone called the sesamoid bone elongated to function like a thumb. This allows them to have an opposable grip, helping them hold bamboo stalks tightly, much like human fingers do. It is this bone that helps a panda hold bamboo just like we hold a banana. Additionally, when eating bamboo, there is a high risk of sharp splinters getting stuck in their throat. To prevent this, the panda's esophagus has a very thick, tough mucus lining. This layer ensures that sharp shards of bamboo reach the stomach safely without tearing the throat. If you examine a panda's skeleton, you'll notice their bones are much heavier and denser than those of other bears. This is nature's armor, protecting them from breaking bones if they fall out of a tree, especially since they don't get much exercise. Their tail also has a unique feature. The panda has the second longest tail among bears, 10 to 15 centimeters, with the sloth bear having the longest. If you watch them walk, you'll notice something. They walk pigeon-toed, with their front paws turned slightly inward. Furthermore, Their hind legs are weaker compared to other bears. Because of this, it is very difficult for pandas to stand upright on their hind legs like humans or grizzly bears do. For them, sitting is much easier than standing. Scientists wondered for years why pandas are black and white. The current consensus is this: the white fur helps them hide in snowy mountain ranges, while the black fur, on their arms and legs, helps them camouflage in the dark shadows of the forest trees. It is the perfect outfit to hide in both snow and forest simultaneously. Those black eye patches are not just for beauty. First, they act as an anti-glare mechanism, preventing direct sunlight from blinding them, just like cricket players smearing black paint under their eyes. Second, pandas recognize each other by the specific shape of these patches. Also, their fur is not soft like cotton. It is oily and woolly. This protects their body from the freezing cold, keeping them dry and trapping heat. Why are pandas so famously lazy? The answer lies in their thyroid gland. The level of thyroid hormones in a panda's body is incredibly low, hypothyroidism. Among mammals, such low levels are only otherwise seen in sloths. Because of this low thyroid activity, their metabolism is exceedingly slow. Consequently, their body temperature is also lower. While a normal bear might have a body temperature of 37 degrees Celsius, a panda's is lower. To survive on this meager energy budget, pandas reduced the size of several internal organs. Their liver, brain, and kidneys are relatively small compared to their body size. Their situation isn't, "I don't want to move." It's literally, "I cannot afford to move." The energy they get from bamboo is so negligible that pandas refuse to waste it unnecessarily. Therefore, their policy is eat and spend the rest of the time lying perfectly still. Adult pandas don't waste time playing or running. If they face a steep mountain, they will take the long, winding path around it because climbing straight up requires too much energy. They don't have a designated place to sleep. They will pass out anywhere, on a tree branch, on a rock, or flat on the ground. Most amusingly, when descending a hill, if they feel too lazy to walk, they simply curl up into a ball and roll down. Rolling saves much more energy than walking. It might look funny to us, but for a panda, it is a highly calculated, energy-saving smart move. Bears typically hibernate during the winter, sleeping in a cave for months without eating. But pandas cannot do this. To hibernate, an animal must store a massive amount of fat in its body beforehand. How can you build up fat reserves by eating something as watery and low-calorie as bamboo? It is impossible. Therefore, even in the freezing cold, pandas cannot afford to sleep through the winter. They must keep eating. When it gets too cold, they simply migrate down from the high mountains to slightly warmer valleys. Nature has not granted them the luxury of sleeping under a cozy blanket of snow. They are condemned to stay awake and eat every single day, all year round. Pandas are like reclusive hermits in the wild. Each panda has its own empire, a territory spanning roughly 4 to 6 square kilometers, and they absolutely cannot tolerate another panda encroaching on it. But hidden deep within dense bamboo forests, how do they establish these borders? That is where the secret weapon under their tail comes into play. Pandas possess specialized scent glands, anal glands, under their tails that secrete a waxy, pungent-smelling substance. They rub their rear ends against trees and rocks along their borders to smear this secretion. This acts as their signboard. It is a chemical message that says, "This is my territory. Keep out." When another panda passing through catches this scent, they instantly know the area is claimed. This single scent mark contains a complete biodata of the owner, whether it is male or female, its age, and even its size. When it comes to marking territory, pandas engage in a fascinating, yet slightly comical behavior: handstand peeing. They literally do a handstand against a tree, walking their hind legs up the trunk to urinate as high as possible. Why perform such acrobatics? There is a deep psychology behind it. The height at which a panda marks its scent, urine, is a direct advertisement of its size. If a wandering panda smells urine high up on a tree, it will think, "Wow, to pee this high, that guy must be a giant. Better not mess with him." In short, this handstand routine is a brilliant bluffing technique used to exaggerate their size and avoid direct physical confrontation. However, if this trick fails and two adult male pandas do cross paths, the story changes. Forget the cute image. A brutal, bloody fight ensues. It is not uncommon for them to lose an ear or a piece of their tail while viciously biting and clawing each other. It is a misconception that pandas are silent animals. They have a vocabulary of about 11 distinct vocalizations. The most bizarre among these is bleating. If you hear a panda call out, you might swear it was a goat or a sheep. This bleating sound is how they communicate amicably. When angry, they can bark like dogs. To intimidate, they growl like pigs, and sometimes they even honk like geese. Regarding their physical skills, despite their lazy demeanor, if their life is threatened, they shift into a different gear. Don't let their chubby bodies fool you. They can scramble up to the very tops of massive trees with astonishing speed to escape predators. They are also excellent swimmers, highly capable of crossing rivers and spending hours in the water. The greatest threat to the panda's survival as a species is their incredibly narrow reproductive window. Out of 365 days in a year, a female panda is fertile and able to conceive estrous cycle for a mere 24 to 72 hours during the spring. That is just 1 to 3 days a year. If mating does not occur within this tiny window, the opportunity is lost, and they must wait until the following spring. During this brief period, pandas are in a state of frantic urgency. Male pandas track the scent of females over kilometers. Finding a mate, defeating rival males, and mating successfully within this tiny time frame is a massive hurdle. If they miss this window, there are no babies. This is the ultimate challenge nature has thrown at them. Here, pandas exhibit a strange paradox in their behavior. In the wild, during those 3 days, male pandas display a high libido. They fiercely guard females under trees and aggressively fight off rival males. However, in captivity zoos, the story is completely reversed. Perhaps due to the comfort and lack of competition, captive male pandas notoriously suffer from low libido. Even if a female is ready and soliciting, the male might completely ignore her, preferring to eat bamboo or go to sleep. This is a massive headache for scientists and conservationists. To change their mood, zoos have even resorted to the bizarre tactic of showing them videos of other pandas mating, often dubbed panda porn. When even that fails, scientists are ultimately forced to rely on artificial insemination to ensure the survival of the species. Even after successful mating, a panda's pregnancy is far from straightforward. The fertilized embryo does not immediately attach to the uterine wall and begin growing. Instead, it floats freely in the uterus in a state of suspended animation. This phenomenon is called delayed implantation. The embryo waits to ensure the mother is getting enough food and that external environmental conditions are favorable. Only months later will it finally implant and begin to grow. Because of this, the gestation period can wildly vary from 95 to 160 days. An even bigger headache for zookeepers is false pregnancy, pseudo-pregnancy. Female pandas that are not pregnant will exhibit all the classic signs of pregnancy. They sleep more, eat less, and experience the exact same hormonal changes. Because of this, zookeepers often cannot confirm if a panda is truly pregnant or just faking it until the moment of birth. One of the greatest marvels among mammals is the size of a newborn panda. The mother might weigh 100 kilograms, but the newborn? A mere 100 grams. That is roughly 1/900th the size of the mother. Imagine a 100 kilograms human mother giving birth to a baby that weighs only 100 grams. When they are born, they don't look like pandas at all. They are hairless, pink, blind, and about the size of a stick of butter. They are so tiny they fit entirely within their mother's paw. Next to marsupials like kangaroos, pandas give birth to the smallest babies relative to the mother's size. The reason for this extreme size difference is their diet. Surviving solely on bamboo means the mother's blood lacks the sufficient nutrients required to grow a large fetus during pregnancy. In about 50% of panda births, the mother delivers twins. While this sounds like happy news, in the wild, it is a tragedy. If 2 cubs are born, the mother panda instantly makes a heartbreaking decision. She assesses which cub is healthier, which one cries louder, and she picks up only that one. She will abandon the second cub. That rejected cub will quickly die of cold and starvation. This is not cruelty on the mother's part, but sheer helplessness. The meager energy she derives from her bamboo diet simply cannot produce enough milk to sustain 2 growing cubs. If she tried to raise both cubs and possibly the mother herself would likely die. Therefore, to ensure the survival of her lineage, she is forced to obey nature's harsh law and sacrifice one to save the other. In captivity, zookeepers intervene, constantly swapping the twins between the mother and an incubator, so she ends up raising both without realizing it. A mother panda guards her chosen cub like her own breath. Immediately after birth, she scoops the tiny cub up and holds it tightly against her chest. For months, she will barely put it down. Even while eating, she cradles the cub in her arms. Because the cub is so minuscule and hairless, it cannot survive without the mother's constant body heat. The cub constantly emits loud squeaks. This is essentially its way of saying, "Mom, I'm here. Don't squish me." This is crucial because it is tragically common for a 100 kilograms mother, while rolling over in her sleep, to accidentally crush her 100-gram baby. Accidental crushing. The mother's immense body and overwhelming affection are simultaneously the cub's greatest protection and its greatest danger. The growth of a panda cub is astonishing. Within a week, the pink skin begins to show the classic black patches around the eyes and ears. By 3 months, they start to crawl. For the first 6 months, their only food is mother's milk. After that, their teeth come in, and they begin to nibble on bamboo. But there is a major problem here. The cub's stomach lacks the specialized bacteria needed to digest bamboo. Where do they get it? Nature's solution is coprophagy, eating feces. The cubs eagerly begin to eat their mother's poop. There is no need for disgust. This is essentially medicine. The mother's feces are rich in the vital gut bacteria required to break down bamboo. By eating it, the cub inoculates its own digestive system, making it capable of surviving on a bamboo diet. The cub stays with its mother until it is about 1.5 to 2 years old. Then, the mother forces it to leave, and it heads out into the forest to establish its own solitary empire. The most critical phase of a panda cub's life arrives between 1.5 to 2 years of age. It is then that they must sever all ties with their mother and venture out into the world alone. While it sounds heartbreaking, this solitary existence is absolutely essential for their survival in the wild. Carving out a new territory is a massive challenge. In the wild, a panda's average lifespan is about 20 years, but under human care, they can live past 30. The harsh reality of the wild takes its toll, especially as they age. Aging is exceptionally cruel to a panda. Years of constantly grinding down rock-hard bamboo completely wears out their teeth. Once their teeth fail, they can no longer process their only food source, and they slowly begin to starve. As their bodies weaken in this twilight phase, predators like snow leopards and wild dogs, who previously feared the adult panda, begin to close in. Nature's law is unforgiving. The moment their physical strength fades, they become prey. But predators are not their biggest threat. In the name of development, humans have sliced through the heart of their ancient forests with massive highways and high-speed railways. This creates what scientists call habitat fragmentation. When a forest is split in two, a panda on one side cannot safely cross over to find a mate or seek new bamboo patches. They become genetically isolated, trapped in shrinking islands of green. Although direct poaching has significantly decreased today, pandas still accidentally step into iron traps set by hunters for other animals, losing their limbs or their lives. Furthermore, the unchecked influx of tourists and the blinding flash of cameras subject them to immense psychological stress. Even infectious diseases transmitted from domestic dogs pose a lethal threat to their isolated populations. Yet, sometimes nature sets its own trap. The bamboo die off. Every 40 to 100 years, a specific species of bamboo will synchronously flower, produce seeds, and then entirely die off across a vast region. When this mass death occurs, pandas face catastrophic famine. If human infrastructure blocks their path to migrate to a different forest, this natural cycle turns into a mass mortality event, wiping out pandas trapped behind the human walls. To save them, an unprecedented international effort was born, leading to one of the most fascinating geopolitical strategies in history: Panda Diplomacy. The giant panda is one of the most highly valued animals on Earth. China does not sell them. It leases them to other nations to forge and strengthen diplomatic ties. This is not just a simple animal exchange. It is high-stakes global politics and friendship. Countries pay millions of dollars to host them, making the panda the ultimate national treasure and an ambassador of soft power. And this massive global effort has paid off. The panda stands as living proof that if humanity unites, we can pull a species back from the brink of extinction. In the 1980s, they were fading fast. But thanks to relentless conservation efforts by China and global organizations, in 2016, the IUCN officially downgraded the giant panda from endangered to vulnerable. This is one of the greatest victories in the history of wildlife conservation. Protecting the panda means protecting much more than just one animal. Because a single panda requires a vast, pristine forest to survive, protecting their habitat inadvertently protects countless other creatures sharing that forest, like the golden snub-nosed monkey, the red panda, and rare birds. Biologists call the panda an umbrella species. By holding up the panda umbrella, we shield an entire, vibrant ecosystem underneath. Despite the heavy weight of their species' survival, pandas themselves are incredibly curious, mischievous, and surprisingly fearless creatures. While they seem slow and docile, they love to play, tumbling clumsily out of trees or wrestling fiercely with toys provided by their keepers. However, their extreme curiosity can sometimes make them unpredictable and dangerous. Science is still trying to fully decode the quirks of their fascinating minds. Interestingly, the panda's association with peace is ancient. In ancient Chinese history, the panda held unique military significance. During fierce, bloody wars, if an army wished to call a truce and ask for peace, they would raise a flag bearing the image of a panda. Known then as Pai Su, the panda was considered the ultimate ambassador of truce. The fact that the image of a gentle, bamboo-eating bear could halt a raging war speaks volumes about the deep reverence humanity has held for this magnificent creature for millennia. From an evolutionary anomaly to the ultimate symbol of peace and conservation, the giant panda is truly one of nature's greatest masterpieces. If you loved unraveling the bizarre secrets of the panda with us, please hit that like button and share this video. Subscribe to the Monolith English and turn on notifications for more incredible deep dives into the natural world. Until next time, keep exploring.